head up after the administrative calendar. Thank you. Excuse me? Better not be.
So, all right, so we're in the middle of the vote. I will clarify that I am going to instruct my counsel to only represent me and that the other plaintiffs should be represented by a different firm.
Okay. So, Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
I'm voting no on 28 and aye to the rest.
Councilman Dunn?
I'm voting no on 28. And yes on everything else. I think we have the right. And if you watch Judge Judy, you better protect yourself and have your own attorney. Don't say later on that, oh, you shoulda, coulda, woulda. Do it now. So I do watch TV too sometimes. So Judge Judy says always protect yourself. So I vote aye on everything except for item 28, where I vote no. Thank you.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Even though I know 28 is not going to pass, but I still will do it because that's something we should do. Oh, I'm sorry. I am voting yes on everything except 28. I'm voting no on 28.
Councilwoman King Sweeney?
No on 28, yes for everything else.
Supervisor Gillen?
No on 28, yes for everything else.
Yeah, move to adjourn.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Ambrosino? Aye. Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito? Aye. Councilman Dunn? Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Yes.
Councilwoman King Sweeney?
Hi, sorry. This is what happened.
Okay. Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. All right. Do you need to take a break before public comment?
We do. Let's go to, no? Oh, this is yours? Oh, I
Take a
can,
break or do you
no,
want us
I'm
to go?
okay. I just want to get,
All right, we're going to move into public comment now.
it's my daughter's birthday, so I got to get home. We have 6 o'clock dinner appointment.
William McCabe.
William McCabe, Floral Park, New York. This meeting and the past meeting, there's been quite a discussion about the cost of litigation and the cost of lawsuits. There's been an article in Newsday saying that the town of Hempstead in the past 2 years has spent $2,266,339.32 on outside counsel to just one particular firm that happens to represent a number of cases for the town, including a law that was passed banning coin-operated air machines in gas stations. That particular law was brought to the court because of its unconstitutionality. Judge Karen Murphy has ruled that the state law preempts the town of Hempstead's law. The state law provides for gas stations to provide air, compressed air to fill tires for motorists. It doesn't say anything about free. It doesn't say anything about pay. It doesn't say anything along the lines of giving a township an ability to be able to determine how they can put this law into place. That being said, there's a date coming up this month where the outside counsel, that has received $2,226,339.32 for this case and a number of other ones, still is asking for discovery and deposition on this particular case.
What is the status of this case right now? What is the next date that you're talking about?
I think it's May 12th.
Is that a conference?
It's a conference, as far as I know. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but I think it's a conference.
Mr. Ra, have we made any progress with settling this case?
I would respectfully caution us discussing this here. I will only say that offers of settlement have been made and rejected.
And the offers for settlement were made, and there was not communication coming back from the town of Hempstead to the litigants in the case.
I'm not going to comment on the pending litigation.
Are you following?
Talk to your lawyer.
Attorney Ra, Town Attorney Ra, are you following what's going on with this? Do you have an idea of what Berkman and Hennick are doing? Do you pay attention? Do you watch what Berkman and Hennick are doing? Do you watch the bills?
Yes,
Do you
I do.
watch? Do you watch the communications that they're having at the
See,
court?
I'm at a loss here because I can't answer you, but the answer is yes, I do. But I can't tell you what I think is going on the other side. But that's where we are.
It doesn't
the
appear
answer
that
is
you're
yes.
in proper. It doesn't appear that you're in proper communication with all of the necessary parties.
Mr. McCabe, I will, without commenting on pending litigation, I will tell you that I will be revisiting the settlement offers that have been proffered and see if there's some resolution that we can come to.
Sure, and please understand that if it continues and that the settlement offers are not accepted, or the law firm continues to go along with the deposition, their demand for deposition and discovery, that it will further cost the taxpayers at least $50,000 to $100,000 more upcoming. In addition to this, $2,266,339.32. They will get more money from the town if there's not a solution and there's not something that's done quickly in order to stop this. And that's really all I have to say, because everyone is worried about how much this is costing the town. How much is this particular lawsuit costing? How much is this particular lawsuit costing? That's what everybody is worried about, and that's what everybody's talking about. There is an easy solution to many of these lawsuits. Quite frankly, the free air law is probably one of the easiest ones, because the judge says it's no good. It's that simple. The law is no good. The state law preempts it. Just get rid of it. That's it. And you could avoid much of these expenses. There is expense after expense after expense in lawsuits. These gentlemen that wish to build that development over in 5 towns, agree with them or not, that's none of my business. It doesn't matter. But because of something that the town is doing that I don't know enough about it, but perhaps wasn't researched enough, perhaps there's a knee-jerk reaction to something. I don't know. I'm not accusing any of you of doing that. But it's just another lawsuit because of what appears to be a lack of research that's done and a lack of paying attention to what is going on and what other people are doing. So to me, it just seems like some of these things can be avoided, and then if the unfortunate event occurs that the town is involved in it, we should try to get rid of it as quickly as we can to save the taxpayers money, so that this guy Berkman and Hennick and Petty and Peterson and Forshelley and Deegan and Curto don't make tons of money on this. That's not the town. That's not the job of the town board, is to put money into these people's pockets. The job of the town board is to provide us with services and to be able to and to be able to defend us when the time comes, and to be able to provide the taxpayers with a place to live that's safe, clean, and put together. That's the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Felix Procacci.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Barn Street, Franklin Square, New York. I didn't want to mention this, but I just have to. The idea that you guys can't talk on pending litigation is out the window. How many articles have been mentioned by many of you about pending litigation, whether it's here or in the press, is ridiculous. So drop that line. It doesn't apply. All of you did it. Okay. On December 7th, 2017, in response to the then proposed no layoff clause being added to the 5-year CSEA contract signed in July, Newsday reported that Union President Charles Salito did not respond to requests for comment. On April 24, 2018, after Supervisor Laura Gillen filed a lawsuit to nullify the no layoff clause, Newsday reported that Union President Charles Salito said the only possible result of nullifying the no layoff clause would be to jeopardize the hardworking employees covered by the clause. Last year, in 2017, town employee and CSEA member Andrea Weingarten was laid off. Her termination was implemented in a very unusual way, being that her name never appeared in a resolution, as required by law, stating that she was being terminated. The way then Supervisor Santino described it, she was let go after her civil service position was eliminated, her title. Therefore, there was no reason to put her name on a personnel resolution. That's illegal. Andrea came into town hall several times asking for an explanation as to why she was let go and how she could get her job back, but to no avail. The town board members, who always claimed to be on the side of the employees, Santino, Gooseby, D'Esposito, Dunn, Ambrosino, and Blakeman, and most demonstrative, Erin King Sweeney, said nothing and did nothing to help this employee. And Newsday, true to form, did not write a story that the Santino administration laid off a town employee. And where was Union President Charles Salito? Why didn't he come to town hall and defend Andrea and make it known to the public that Santino was planning layoffs of his union members? Laura Gillen has not yet laid off anyone, but Santino did. Yet Charles Salito decided to make a public comment on a hypothetical situation, saying nothing when one of his members was secretly terminated. Ironically, when Santino desperately needed to transfer and protect his staff, he also reinstated Andrea Weingarten. So what if one were to allowed to ask questions at town hall? One of many asked, what was the purpose of terminating Andrea only to reinstate her at Santino's last town board meeting, and why didn't any other board member stand up for Andrea? That's very significant. I hear all of you say you stand up for the little guy, the employees behind you and everything in the audience. Andrea came in, I stood up for her. Several times I've stood up for her. There was no answer from the administration explaining why she was terminated, and her name belongs on a resolution. Transfers belong on a resolution. People who go out for leave belong on a resolution. I go to my Franklin Square school board meetings, and when someone is terminated, their name is on there. When they go out for maternity leave, their name is on there. Just like you're reading off names of people that were taking leave, that belongs on the resolution. It's a public resolution. State law implemented on February 2nd, 2012 mandates it. It requires it. But once again, state law offers no means of enforcement. The public has to file an Article 78 against you guys and dole out $10,000 in litigation costs for retainer just to begin that process. It's not fair, and you blatantly violate the law, and most importantly, you didn't protect your employee here.
I just want to point out that there actually was 2 people terminated after January. It was on the town board calendar.
I have no.
Okay. I'm just letting you know. You said that there was nobody terminated from January 1st forward. There was. There was 2 people.
They were laid off?
They were fired.
Well, that's different.
Okay.
No,
Just letting you know.
she wasn't let go for cause. No, come on, we understood that. And just so all you guys know, because you're so concerned about legal costs, these are all the open federal cases. Actually, these are the Nassau County court cases in the town of Hempstead. I counted, it's probably like 60 or something. Some of them are duplicated. I'm not sure what the reason is, but they include, actually it was about 50 because they include North Hempstead in it. So there's about 50 cases here and 43 cases in federal court. Now, Erin King Sweeney's on a crusade now to make a reserve. Let's make a reserve. I agree with Erin King Sweeney. Let's put a reserve for each of these cases, and why are we persisting on each of these cases, and how it's in the benefit of the taxpayer.
The 2 people who were let go are a member of the former supervisor's staff, and I let them go because I did not want those people as a member of my staff. They're exempt people. You're right. Glenn Sylvester. Long meeting. I guess he left. Anne Marceline. Anne Marceline from Baldwin. No. Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. I wanted to talk about that dog Toby that I brought up, the issue, and one of the reasons we held a demonstration at the animal shelter. I held a poster, asked me about Toby. And after the demonstration, your attorney approached us, and I brought him to the back and showed him what was happening with that dog who was surrendered to be euthanized back in the first week of February. And yet, on that day, in April, late April, that dog had been untouched, not taken care of at all. This dog was suffering. And as I told you last time, I said this dog is a poster child of mismanagement in this shelter and a lack of behaviorist and a lack of enrichment, and it just stuck out. I understand a few weeks later, allegedly something happened to the dog's health and he was put down. Your liaison, who, by the way, her resume doesn't reflect any expertise in animal sheltering, wrote a note to the staff. And it basically says that, you know, Toby came to our shelter, a challenge, but over time he made progress and friends. That's a blatant lie. That dog suffered. And no one believes this letter. I got more responses from good volunteers and staff that this is a joke, that this is an insult, especially to Toby. This is a lie, and it's an illusion that nobody is buying. So, again, you're saying that you're getting recommendations from the commissioner and the director, who, by the way, is denying that he has any control of anything, and you have a liaison there that's sending out emails that are very deceiving and dismissive of what really took place in the animal shelter. And I want to add that at some point I did have a meeting with your personal attorney, and there was another person in your administration who I was blown away by. I thought she was very connected to the animals, in tune with what was going on. She saw things clearly. She left there, you know, typical, where you look at it and you see an image and you think, oh, dogs are getting walked. But then we got into the nitty-gritty, and she understood, and we went into isolation, and she got it. And she asked a lot of questions, and she had a lot of concerns, and she left with tears in her eyes. And that's the kind of person you need as a liaison at the animal shelter, someone that's going to go in there directly and look at those animals and say exactly the words that she said. How do we make it better? Not cover-ups. This shouldn't be your administration. This was the last administration. I want to talk about lawsuits too, because Stanley Lombardo, I'm sure you remember him well, had to leave early. This is his lawsuit. I foiled the expenses, thousands and thousands of dollars to keep and prevent a retired Hempstead employee from feeding cats on a landfill. This is outrageous. It's unacceptable. It's certainly not what we expected from you or your administration. And the fact that this lawsuit, among 5 others, are just sitting and building more and more expenses, hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawsuits the town is going to lose. I just want to give you an idea of what has happened. So far, volunteers, good volunteers, are now prohibited from being in that isolation area, which is outrageous and inhumane. People are now asked to, the public And I know you're kind of new here. We've been around a long time, but there was a period of time when the public was asked for their driver's licenses to come into the building and enter the building. And I don't know what information you're getting, but no transparent adoption center requests driver's licenses. They're open, the carpets are rolled out. You want the public there. You want them to feel welcome. You don't question them. You don't treat a building like Mr. Pastore would prefer to, like some kind of prison where you're visiting inmates. It's wrong. In fact, when Cindy Acapello came in, she did away with all of that immediately. She did away with that. She did away with the sign-in book. She had a lot of things to yet get accomplished, but she understood that that's not the tone or feel of an adoption center, to ask constituents to identify themselves. And what happens, by the way, to people that don't have a driver's license? They don't get to go in and view the animals or adopt. It's unnecessary and it's absurd and it's going backwards. The staff changes, I'm asking you to look into this with Nancy Garris. She should be back in adoptions. This is a crucial time of kitten season. The bite cases are extremely up. I'm sitting here, Laura, and I get text messages from staff and volunteers just sitting in this meeting alone all day of what's going on there. And these are people that I convinced to vote for you. They're not going to vote for you again. I'm just being honest. They don't see anything better, and they see a liaison that is partnering with the same tone, same theory, same philosophy, making excuses, creating illusions, and not really fixing the problems. The last expert you have in there is now being targeted. And I know Felix raised an issue about, the board not stepping up for these employees that were targeted and fired or whatever the case may be. This is your opportunity, and I hope you don't miss it. And it would also send a message that you're in charge, not Commissioner Marino, not Pastore, who, again, is still there. These are all operational. These are all mismanagement. That's what it is. That's what it boils down to. And I understand you have RFPs out. That's great. But I am telling you, as I sit here today, vets do not want to apply. Behaviorists do not want to apply. No one wants to apply because you have not done your job to move this director out and bring in a progressive director having a proven background of implementing policies. They don't want to get involved in this because they know their time and their efforts will be destroyed like they were from 2014 on.
Diane, I'm sorry, but you've already exceeded your time.
I understand that. Thank you. And again, I hope you give a lot of thought to this because there are a lot of people paying attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Valerie Lamb?
Thank you, Felix. Valerie Lamb, Baldwin. Where did I want to start? Oh, so on behalf of Lucille DeFina, really quickly, I wanted to, again, thank Councilman Diaz-Bazito's office, including Matt and the councilman for the communication with regards to that elderly woman and her feral cat situation. Matt's working on an answer for that. But just so you know, Councilman, there's major TNR issues, and she does want to continue the dialogue, as do I, obviously. Okay. Over at the animal shelter, over 200 cats, according to FOILS, were either euthanized or died in their cages in 2017. That's literally 2 every 3 days. So every 3 days, a cat is either dying in its cage or euthanized at the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. Couple of things seem very backwards. Sometimes when I come here for a meeting, I've been meaning to bring this up, but Ms. Meriday has pointed out in the past how, it's difficult for the constituents, the taxpayers, to even find a parking space. I got here at approximately 10:40 this morning. I'm driving around the parking lot. I found several spots in the visitor parking section that were coned off, orange cones. Sorry. She's agreeing with me. And, you know, here you have a young lady behind me who's a veteran, who's a resident of the town of Hempstead, who comes here to advocate for veterans' rights, and she can't find a parking space, and neither can I. And thankfully, I don't have an issue, I don't have a disability, but there are many people who do. Stanley Lombardo, one of your biggest, if not biggest, core supporters during your campaign season, as you know, has had back surgery and is still not 100%. I mean, who's getting these coned off special privileges spaces? Who's getting them? It tells us we can only park in visitor parking. You can't park in the numbered spots. The numbered spots are taken. Then there's extra vehicles that are like white vans inventing their own parking spaces. And I'm just saying it seems kind of backwards that here we are paying these crazy taxes, and here we are paying everyone's salary, and we're not allowed to park even remotely close to walking distance, really. Whatever.
I'm not sure.
The building has ADA parking.
I'm sorry?
It's the law. It's
What?
a federal law that
What?
you have handicap parking.
I'm not talking about
Any
handicap
government
parking.
facility. You said that they were disabled.
No. I'm saying that people who are disabled can't even get a parking space because those spaces are filled. The handicap spaces. All right, I don't want to. We'll talk later. Okay.
Valerie, you can just
additionally
show us where the parking spots are. I'll look into why they were coned off. I don't know which ones.
I don't
they
know
are.
if they're still coned up, but I will.
You
Okay.
can show us.
Fine. And then additionally, you know, the first thing I walk here, I get in here, I'm here to advocate for the animals as usual. I walk in, I've been here, coming here almost every meeting now for almost a year, and I'm told I can't have my cup of coffee, which is a bad move. You don't want to take my coffee away. But I'm just saying, like, we're sitting here, it's got to be 4 or 5 hours now, and we get to watch everyone else drink their water, their iced tea, whatever it is, and I don't have anything against your Pellegrinos. I really don't. But I mean, I'm sitting here 5 hours chewing gum. Can I have a sip of water, or do I have to remove myself and go to the cafeteria? Come on. The reason I'm saying everything is backwards, and I'm going to bring it back to the animal shelter, is because here you have Nancy Garris, a woman who is extremely qualified in a specialized field. She is an adoption expert when it comes to animals. She's an expert, okay? And they shuffled her into a front desk operation that she was never involved with before, nor is it where she should. It's like taking the chef and putting him out to be a busboy. And you took the busboy and you put him in the chef's suit. I mean, I'm not saying busboys can't cook. I spend a lot of time in the restaurant world, and I love busboys. That's not the point. The point is that I think it's retaliatory. Here's a woman who came here a couple of months ago and illuminated the fact that the shelter was in arrears with their payments to the emergency vet clinics. And oh, coincidentally, she was immediately investigated by your shelter liaison. And then on top of that, when they couldn't find anything on her, they transferred her. They transferred her. And that's punishment. You know why? Because she loves the animals just like we do. And when you love the animals and anything is done against their best interest, it hurts. It crushes you. And then they take this other person who has no adoption expertise and they stick them as the adoption coordinator. Come on. Please. Will someone step up for the animals? I'm asking all of you. Every single one of you. Please, this has to end. One last thing. Mike Pistori, the director who you're taking advice from, came from the ACC of NYC. You let other people go, right? So I'm going to finish this point. And there was has the reputation of being the bloodiest shelter in all of this state, okay? There was just not only public outcry at a recent meeting, but there was also a protest on May 4th in Manhattan, very well attended. And you know what? I don't know what it takes to affect real change. I've been trying, it feels like forever, but we're not going to stop.
Nita Meriday?
Mita J. Meriday Baldwin, even though I appreciate the designation, I have not served in the military. My family has served. My father was in the Navy. My brother was in the Air Force. I have a godchild that's flying around New Mexico as we speak as a second lieutenant in the Air Force. But I am proud of my service as a domestic warrior for our veterans and their families, many of whom are suffering within walking distance of this facility. So I just wanted to make that clear for the record. As it pertains to the items that I wanted to discuss, if nothing else, we need to have a public advocate within the township. We need to have someone who can speak to our issues and can speak to the concerns that we clearly express, but we don't get any satisfaction from. There were comments earlier about the representation from your staff, Supervisor Gillen, and I have to concur with those who have spoken earlier with regard to the delinquency at best with getting responses from your staff people, getting courtesies from your staff people. That should be unacceptable to you as it is to us, and it's something that needs to be addressed. As it pertains to even interacting with you, there have been occasions since January, and this, you cannot say this is before you got here because this speaks to you directly, when I presented information and suggestions because I was, you know, for lack of a better word, chastised about always coming here saying the same thing, not giving any credit where credit is due, et cetera, and what do you have to bring to the table? And I commend the controller, Mr. Conroy, for speaking up for one of his staff people with his 25 years of experience. I'm gratified that you have someone in that position that has 25 years of experience. I have over 30 years of experience, and the fact that I have to be here in pain, walking with a stick, as someone said, I passed by 11 orange cones in the parking lot. Are they here now? No. Previously, I did ask, what are those cones for? And I was told, for people coming to the board meeting. What do I look like? Chopped liver was my response. He says, well, it's up to the supervisor. And to Kate Murray's credit, when it was brought to her attention, she addressed it. So this
It was just brought to my attention, and I will address it. I will look into it.
Hopefully, I'm all about trying to be positive. The emergency center, which I finally got a chance to read in the article that pertained to this whole capital plan, I think that is something that's an item that should be removed, that should be a priority and should be addressed. And we should seek federal and state funding because we need an emergency center. Maybe not for water lab analysis. Maybe we do need an actual emergency center for residents, particularly in the South Shore, who need to go someplace when their house is about to be in the Atlantic Ocean, or to have a place to go if most of the water in the Atlantic Ocean is in their home. So I think that's something that should be pulled out and addressed as far as getting something to move forward with that, because I'm in definite support of that. And I do have background and experience as a 9/11 responder. I am still listed on the New York City Office of Emergency Management, and I will continue to say that we are outdated and out of step here in the Township of Hempstead and Nassau County to the detriment of our residents, and we need to address that. Finally, what happens now that the public time period, what is going to happen with that, and what are you going to take from that with regard to, as it was pointed out, particularly by Councilman D'Esposito, that the buck stops with you in setting up and distributing the information that goes on the agenda. So who is going to, or who is going to fall on the sword for making the types of mistakes that generated the discussion and the lack of decorum in this session that we're now close to 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock? To get that situation so that when we come here, take the time, use our own ink and time and printing to come here and the information is outdated, misrepresented, missing in action, and things of that nature. Who is going to fix that problem?
Believe me, if I make changes to a resolution, I'm going to make sure that those changes are made next time.
Fine. Lastly, the overhead screens. The fact that they're now working, and I'm glad that that was addressed because I did bring it up and I like to give credit where it's due. And I think members, residents might have information that they want to share with each other who is here. I just want to make sure that that information, how they can access that, will be made available to the residents so that we can maybe help from our end to shorten the time period of the meeting, because information is power, but if we're not sharing the information, that also generates the types of questions that we can avoid as we move forward. And lastly, the Mitchell Field project. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby was absolutely correct. And the fact that her constituency and those of a few others on this board, we need to make sure that our voices are heard, that you're speaking to that. And again, I can't say directly that I saw you in a picture with a shovel. I really don't have time to monitor as much media as other people, but I appreciate those who do that. But I think you have to now be a little more careful as far as how you are reflecting, even if it's just your thoughts and your opinions. You have to be a little careful how you're reflecting that, because you are representing this township, and how you represent that is key to how we can present what information that we're getting from you. We all want to be in this together. We pay too much money. We take too much time for this. It has to be taken seriously. And if you need to do some kind of training, sensitivity training or whatever with your staff, I'm perfectly willing to do it, because nobody wanted to come to me and hire me because I presented my information, my credentials, tried to sit down with you, and I got 10 minutes with you and 40 minutes with a staff person who 3 months later I have yet to hear from. And basically my information was passed off to another person who said they needed a little more time to get caught up to speed, and I never heard from her. And we're now at, I don't even know what time, because my watch even stopped, and I still don't have a copy of the capital plan that I asked for when I first staggered into the room. And now I really need to go because I have to take a pill. Thank you.
The capital plan is online, but if you need a hard copy, we can get you one.
Can I get it before I leave?
When are you leaving?
Now. I asked when I first came in, and I got plenty of witnesses what time I came here, and I was told I would have one.
I can't get you one right now because I have to finish the meeting, but I can send you one. If you give your address to Mitch, I'll mail it to you.
Okay.
Pearl Jacobs.
Pearl Jacobs, President of the Nostra Garden Civic Association in Uniondale, and I'm speaking on behalf of the community of Uniondale. Supervisor Gillen, I sincerely applaud you for demonstrating diversity and inclusion within the town of Hempstead, and for hearing the concerns of Uniondale and responding to our issues. This is a refreshing change from the last administration. It truly is. As you know, building code violations in Uniondale are at a peak. And last night, we had the meeting of the Nostra Garden Civic Association in Uniondale, and the town of Hempstead was well represented at last night's evening meeting. Matt and Rochelle engaged positively with the residents. Roy Gunther, he provided an informative overview regarding the building code enforcement process, and we are pleased to inform you that collectively, between our Nostra Garden Civic Association and the town of Hempstead, and we have agreed upon a plan of action that, if it is adhered to, should assist in reducing the overwhelming amount of building code violations that currently plague the Uniondale community. And I'm sure Matt and Rochelle, if they have not already, they will inform you of that plan of action. This is a step in the right direction to realize the vision of the Nostra Garden Civic Association to bring about positive quality of life transformation to Uniondale. And again, I really appreciate the diversity and inclusion that you have demonstrated to, and respect that you have demonstrated to the Uniondale community. And as you see today, earlier in the meeting, Councilwoman Gooseby, I appreciate you bringing those pictures, showing those pictures of that gas station. That's just indicative of the systemic problems that we have in Uniondale. And I would like to know if that gas station has not already been summoned. Will they be served with violation?
Before it comes to us, we definitely do that. They have had violations in the past. So I was very much aware, and I knew if they came here today, I was going to get them. So
Are they getting a new violation?
They get many. They have to clean up everything before. They have to clean it all up. They have to clean up a lot, but not as much as they should.
Okay, so we do have a plan of action. We're working together with that.
That's the way we do it. We do that for every issue that comes up in Uniondale. You don't know it. Teresa and I ride around a lot, and we take care of a lot of things. All those things that I read off to you, the building department, whoever I need, takes care of it. Highways, whatever I need. You just don't know that I'm there because you don't see me. I didn't even see you when we did the new turf at the Uniondale Park.
I can't
I
be
don't see
everywhere.
it.
I'm in a lot of places. I just can't be
Well,
everywhere.
I
There's
am
only one
too,
of
so
me.
that's, I have
Well,
a,
you know, I listen. This is not my job, but I do a lot for
it's
the
not
community.
mine either. I have 21 hours that I'm
I
supposed
do
to
a lot
work.
for the community, and I do it all from the concern and care for my community.
Well, I think
I don't get any restitution for anything.
That's
And
great.
okay, and thank you again, Supervisor Gillen.
And see, I don't appreciate the supervisor sending people to the district and I don't know about it. I'm responsible for that district and I like to be able to take care of it, but you've taken that out of my hands and she's doing it, so that's
Senior
the way it
Councilwoman
goes.
Goolsbee, I'm trying to be respectful today, and I do remember at the last meeting or a couple of meetings prior, you said, you told Supervisor Gillen, you can have Uniondale, take Uniondale. I heard that with my own ears.
Did she embarrass me? And I had told
She's
her
not
already-
embarrassed. Well,
Yes,
you know
she did.
what? I'm speaking for the community. I'm speaking as a civic leader for the community, and I'm going to finish by saying, Supervisor Gillen, thank you for reaching out and paying attention to the issues in Uniondale. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Oh, that's great.
Councilwoman, the last thing I would ever want to do is embarrass
But you
you.
did. Everybody's
I would not
aware
want
of
to
it.
embarrass you.
Everybody's aware of it, that you did it, because I told you before. We have councilmen at the district. You know, we worked for 10 years to get these, because our community was never served. She does not understand this community because she wasn't here when it was bad. It's really doing very well now. So it's very disrespectful, and you know that.
I just accepted an invitation to attend a civic meeting.
No,
and
well, you
I was
can do
happy to
that anytime you want.
Thank you. Mary Ellen Cray?
Mary Ellen Cray, Uniondale. I thank you, Senior Councilwoman Goolsbee, for your advocacy in the matters relating to the Hub Uniondale. Really appreciate that, and I hope you'll keep on top of it, because now I hear that there are proposals to have a flea market at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Inappropriate in the opinion of many of us. Thank you for your photos on the gas station. We really appreciate that advocacy. I'd like to add my comments to those of Mrs. Jacobs about the differences between the deliberations relating to the golf course in Woodmere and the plans for the A. Holly Patterson property. The difference between 244, 277, or whatever homes on 100 acres versus in Uniondale, slightly less than 400 units on 18 acres in Uniondale at A. Holly Patterson Geriatric. Excuse me. Recently, I heard that somebody needed to have a sign put up on a storefront. And of course, there's a permit process for that. And now I've learned that you need an expediter to take you through these processes of getting a permit to put up a sign or just about anything else, to navigate through the arcane systems of the permit process.
I never heard of that.
Well, now you have. I hadn't either. So I'm just bringing that forward. It seems to me the permit process should be relatively straightforward, and you really should not have to do that type of thing.
You do that now? Do you do that? You ask for a permit for a sign?
That would be the building department.
building
We're trying to
to
get the
sign?
commissioner to speak to that. We'll try to get him back here so he can answer your question, okay?
I don't know about that one. She's saying a sign on
The Dr. Martin Luther King Peace Park was a partnership between Nassau County, Town of Hempstead, and the Uniondale Civics. Several plants are dead in there now. It looks pretty awful. I have been known to go in and cut off dead material or dig them out, and I don't think that should be necessary, so I'm hoping that
Well, that is
something will be done to
You
it.
need to speak to the legislator, Kevon Abrams. Only thing that we did help, as far as removing some of the old gravel and so forth, and help with digging so you could have that one, but it's not ours. That is something that is taken care of by Nassau County. It's the Nassau County area.
Very good. We'll move on then. And I was told that arrangements had been made for the volunteer to feed the cats outside of the Oceanside facility. And now I'm hearing that there's a lawsuit against that person. I mean, this is, in my opinion, as an ordinary resident, such a foolish situation. I just cannot believe that this is going on. No comments?
I believe Mr. Lombardo brought the lawsuit against the town. I'm not sure what the status of that lawsuit is, but I'll look into it.
Okay, so he brought a lawsuit against the town for being locked out of the facility. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
He does no longer employ them.
I think that's about it.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Somebody will clarify.
Yes, we're trying to get you an answer right now.
The building commissioner is on his way now. Oh.
Okay, there's someone back there who can give the answer. Wait a minute, he can give the answer.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and Council Board members. So it's not true. You do not need an expediter to file a sign permit.
But apparently the difficulties of going through the process are sufficient in order to make the expediter an important part of the.
I'll give you my card, and
Great.
anyone can speak to me, and we'll make sure that it's an easy process.
Thank you.
Maybe she.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner.
Address of the building that had the person that had the problem. Do you have the name?
Good, very good, thank you.
Does she have the name? You have the name, Ms. McCray? Ms. Gray?
You have them call me.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Rory Gordon. Wendy Cariello.
Wendy Cariello, Baldwin, New York. I really don't want to speak, but I feel compelled. First, I want to say witnessing the behavior of the town board with the council members and the supervisor all sniping at each other is very distressing. You can't expect positive communications and proper decorum from your constituents, I repeat, constituents, if you can't have the same behavior yourself. Moving to the public comment section. We are the largest township in the United States, and with that we have one of the largest animal shelters with the most amount of animals. When people want to speak here at these meetings, you cannot limit them to 3 minutes, and you can't limit it to 30 minutes in the beginning. I do like the idea of speaking in the beginning because people work or have lives. I take a bus here and sit here 6 hours to get to say something. I do think it should not preclude being able to speak throughout the meeting, though, as well. But
Ms. Cariello, I agree with you. That's the intent of bringing it to the beginning of the meeting. And also, if you want to speak, if you want to remain and speak on the public hearings or the administrative calendar, nothing should preclude you to do that.
Good. And it shouldn't be 30 minutes because we are the largest township, as I said, and it shouldn't be cut down from 5 minutes. If people can speak more quickly and succinctly, great. If not, they need the 5 minutes. Lastly, I want to thank Ms. Cabana for speaking the truth. I know what the truth is because I have knowledge of it. I worked 5.5 years at the shelter. 5 years I had the pleasure of working with Nancy. Nancy Giris, Alice Ferrara and I worked in the office together. We had a great rhythm. We got a great deal accomplished. Nancy and Alice continued to have that same perfect working rhythm. Other new people came in and were learning the process. No one is proficient at it as Nancy Giris is. She also is a teacher with a special education degree, so she's very good with the public, very good at reading people when she speaks to them and drawing them out, as well as her knowledge and ability to handle animals. I left there because I was the first person targeted under Mike Pistori, but I was the events coordinator, I was an adoptions counselor, and I also handled the material donations that came in and made sure if we could not use them, they were appropriately dispensed to other groups, rescue shelters, TNR feeders, and people who were attempting to keep their animals and did not have the money to be able to pay for supplies, so nothing went to waste. All that came to an end, and as I said, I was the first person targeted, so I left there in July of 2016. I want to say that people have been shuffled in the last month from jobs that they did expertly, and they were put into positions in which they don't have the expertise. That includes the front office. The person who was removed from the front office knew every aspect of that. She would have been the second in control to know everything, and she's been removed from that now, and people are put in there who cannot do their job. That is not to the benefit of the working of the shelter. That is not to the benefit of smooth running of operations. That simply is not the truth. It's not acceptable. It is to the detriment of the shelter, certainly to the detriment of the adoptions program. We're not the only game in town. We are possibly the least consumer-friendly game in town, but we're not the only game in town. It's very easy for people to go elsewhere to adopt, to different shelters, to different rescues. They can go in either direction and be there within minutes. The backward move that was instituted at the end of last week, where people who want to come in to adopt now have to go into a consumer-unfriendly situation where they have to wait, have their photo ID taken and recorded, and then wait again to be escorted through the shelter, has actually caused people to leave because that doesn't take place anywhere else. And if you think that being the largest township in the United States with possibly the largest number of animals out of many of the towns and states, and many of the animals not considered highly adoptable. So it takes a really great adoption counselor to get people to want that large dog, that older cat, that behaviorally challenged or medically challenged animal. If you think that that is not a job that's important, that anyone can do it, then you really don't get the big picture. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our town board meeting. Have a good afternoon. Good evening.